What is up, guys? It's your boy, Rick Spooky Kackis here. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button to support the channel, and let me know what you think my next intro should be. That comment section is just out of control. Alright, today we have the easy guide for the Grandmaster of the Lake of Shadows strike. And this one is a big deal, because although most other Grandmasters, the challenge is simply overcoming it, with Lake of Shadows specifically, this is a very short strike, and this is going to be the Grandmaster you want to farm. This week, the Palindrome, one of the best hand cannons in the game, is on offer, and you can legitimately, even without the most cracked builds or players, be running completions in about 10 minutes, and I'm gonna show you how. So first things first, let's talk about the loadouts. Now, I was playing a Warlock, and there are a few things I'm doing that are required for the strategy I'm about to showcase. First off, you need to be on Well of Radiance. You need to have one Well Warlock, and I'm combining Well with the Phoenix Protocol exotic chest armor. This is going to make kills and assists while in your Well regenerate your super, so you're going to be spamming Well of Radiances like crazy during this Grandmaster. Moving on from there to the weaponry, I actually tried a ton of things. Lorentz, I tried Vex Mythoclast. There's actually a lot of different options you can use for those first two slots. What I ended up on really enjoying was a Wither Horde in the first slot for ad clearing and just for that tick damage on bigger enemies, and then a Stars in Shadow. There's a lot of solar shields, so having a solar pulse that's also going to be unstoppable is going to be fantastic. And then the Falling Guillotine. Guys, this is the required part. All three of your fireteam members need to be using a sword. Specifically, this one here with Relentless Strikes plus Whirlwind Blade is fantastic for damage output, and you also want to be using Taken Spec. If you have access to this weapon mod, this is what you want. It's going to be better than boss spec, it's going to be better than major spec, anything like that. It does 10% bonus damage versus 8% those other mods do, and it's going to affect like every single ad and enemy you see, regardless of whether they're red bar or all the way up to the boss. So put on Taken Spec on everything. Keep in mind that if you don't have a Fallen Guillotine God roll, you can use something like the Lament, the Crown Splitter, and that will definitely be good as well. But since we're using a sword, we have some mods to really take advantage of that. Firstly, use Protective Light if you have it, and then use some sword ammo finders and scavengers. This also means you can use Disrupting Blade so that you can stun those overload champions with your sword. If you're running up to them and killing them pretty darn fast, that's going to be quite good. But you're also going to want a way to become charged with light, so taking charge is good. And then I am using Lucient Blade. This is going to dramatically boost your sword damage as long as you are charged with light. So this will help you take down those champions really darn fast. Be aware that it is going to be using up your charges, so Protective Light won't quite be as effective. You may want to pick one or the other, but both really isn't a bad decision. But the piece de resistance and the reason to use swords really is Passive Guard. This seasonal perk is absolutely insane. It means that when you have your sword out, you are really, really hard to kill. You can tank an unstoppable shield bash and you'll be totally fine. It's really gonna help your survivability. But the other mod here is also really important, Focusing Lens, doing bonus damage to enemies affected by stasis with your light abilities. And because we're using this, one person needs to use a stasis subclass. Now we went with a Revenant Hunter because the super is really good for just constantly applying stasis to an enemy. In terms of weaponry, we have another Wither Horde, Wolftone Draw for arc shields and a bow, and another Fallen Guillotine. And then the exotic is also really important. As I said, we're really building this around swords, so having one person with the Aeon Swift Gauntlets and the Sect of Insight mod is really, really important. This person's going to be able to finish champions and spawn heavy ammo. So you need sword ammo, you're using your swords a lot, you're nearly indestructible when you have your swords out, might as well have ammo all the time for them. Now moving on from there, you can really use whatever you want for the last class, but we ended up going with a Titan, specifically a Thunder Crash Titan with the Cuirass of the Falling Star to increase the damage even more so. And there's some really great tips you can utilize this for within the strike. Now in terms of weaponry, just two primaries to deal with champions, a pulse rifle and a bow, and then the Lament Sword. Nothing too insane. Once again, passive guard and focusing lens. But moving on from there, let's talk about some tips within the Grandmaster itself. So when you first load in, remember, whip out your Sparrow and go past all of the enemies you see until you encounter the first load zone. Then once you do, you're going to have your first pair of arc shields. Make sure to take down these guys as quickly as possible, because otherwise the Axion darts can take you out pretty darn fast. And also you're going to encounter your first of many blights. Here's a tip for the blights. As you can see right here, if you actually kind of jump on top of them, you will not take damage. Whereas if you stand underneath them, you will. So stand up here and you can work away and kill them with no worry. However, a huge tip is to not kill the first blight. I repeat, completely ignore the first blight, because as you can see, when you kill all of the enemies, you can simply move forward. If you ignore the blight, no more additional enemies spawn. Usually you have a bunch of snipers and thrall everywhere, but now you just have the champions. So you can slowly and methodically take these unstoppables out. Remember, since we're relying on swords, you often just want to let the unstoppables get closer to you, make sure that they're not standing in the kind of taken goop that damages you, and when they're in a good spot, then go for the stun and everyone rush in with swords. As you can see, when you can do that, you eliminate them really, really fast. And although rushing up to unstoppables with swords seems a bit crazy, it's actually quite safe due to passive guard. If something goes wrong, if they break the stun lock, then you can tank a shot from them no problem, and then just regroup, stun again when you can, and go back in to finish them off with those swords. Now, the second and third blights can be destroyed in really whatever order, just kill them when you get to them, but then after the third blight is destroyed, or kind of as you're destroying it, someone is going to have to double back and kill that first blight last. Once you do that, then you can head back to the normal location where everyone is going, and the other two teammates will have to deal with the spawning two overload champions and then one mini boss. Luckily, this is why we're running Thunder Crash Titan. So if you time things properly, you can throw a dust field to slow the champions down, and then have one teammate stun one, the other teammate stun the other, and then pop your Thunder Crash right when that mini boss is spawning, and then you should be able to get both of these stunned champions and the mini boss dead or almost dead, and then simply finish them off with a few swings of the sword. As you can see in the background, it is really fast. Continuing forward, you make your way through the dam as normal until you come to this hallway here. Now, very importantly, once you go outside, there's going to be two unstoppable champions right there. These guys have ended a lot of runs and sent teams back to orbit. So what you want to do is have a Well of Radiance. You need one for this part. Run forward, put it down as quickly as possible where your other two teammates stun those two champions, and then just go to town with your swords. Also, make sure that during this part, you have whatever stasis teammate throw a grenade, use their super, even a melee ability, anything to affect those enemies with stasis. Because what we're doing here, and why we're running specifically a Well of Radiance, all of the focusing lenses, and then a stasis subclass, is because when you're in a Well of Radiance, all of your outgoing damage counts as light abilities and therefore gets the buff from focusing lens, so you are able to melt these guys really darn fast. Now, as you move forward on the bridge, remember you can see the last two champions from this corner here. Head to your left and you can spot them. Stunning them and then using a Thunder Crash is a great idea to get them down very fast, and if they have a little bit of health left, you can finish them off with your swords. As you continue forward, you will find this room here with a ton of taken goblins. Frankly, you can ignore all of those guys, and if you are running the Falling Guillotine, which is Void, you can whip it out, passive guard should protect you, and you run over and kill the one enemy with a Void shield in this entire strike, really, which is this wizard, and then you can take him down pretty darn easily with your swords, and then simply keep moving forward. As you approach the boss fight, there's going to be two last Overload champions. These guys are really just by themselves in this hallway, and this is a great spot to get some finishers off with those exotics, the Eons, and get some easy heavy before the boss fight, because you will need sword ammo for the boss. We are absolutely going for a melt. If you do not melt the boss right away, you're in a world of hurt. Like, it becomes 10 times harder. So what you want to do is take out these last guys, and as soon as that last blight goes down, then the Warlock pops the well kind of as or even just before the boss spawns. Then your Revenant Hunter or whatever stasis guy is going to use his stasis ability. Obviously, Revenant Hunter having a full super here is fantastic, but a Dustfield Grenade will last for a long time as well, and then simply go to town in your well. Again, the extra damage you're getting from not only the well, but Focusing Lens as well is going to let you absolutely crank this boss, as you can see, in no time at all. And then all the enemies actually despawn. They didn't used to in previous seasons, and you will get your rewards. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at @RickKackis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.